What's up guys, this is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel where we talk about creating an epic life on your terms. And today we're talking about should you compromise in a relationship? And pretty much we're gonna really dive deeper on this topic because sometimes we go overboard. And when we go overboard, we don't even realize how much we have been compromising, how much our own opinion hasn't even mattered yet, and we're completely oblivious to that. So I really wanna dive deeper on the 3 biggest misbeliefs that I have encountered in my life, how I've seen it and worked through with clients of mine, with people in my surrounding, and we have found a way to actually change lives altogether just by understanding those 3 things that from now on we're not gonna repeat anymore. Before we get started, I want to remind you I'm holding an exclusive webinar on the 5 pillars to your epic life, so you really are ready for the next year and can really start creating more and more the life on your terms. It's happening November 23rd, and if you want to have an invite, check out the link in the description. And if you want to work with me privately and make the next year the best year so far, you find the information below as well. The first limiting belief I want to talk to you about is that you're not even aware of your own preference. And this happens when we completely numb ourselves out. Most people actually do that because it's too painful to recognize what we want. If we would actually care about what we really want, we would have to face the fact that we're actually not living out that life that we always wanted, that our life is not going the way it was supposed to be. But if you numb yourself out, you have a great way of not even caring about that. Some people live through other people, sometimes parents do that through their children, or you have friends and you kind of like live through them, or you have a partner and you live through them. Whatever it is, these things happen so often. You can also be the one that is just a soldier in other people's lives. For example, you go to work and you do absolutely everything that people ask of you, and you're not even questioning, am I getting back what I deserve? Am I really putting that value on myself? And this happens really, really easily. You don't have to really get into why this happened. I mean, there are other videos on this topic, but to just put it in a nutshell, most of the time this happened because of things we experienced in childhood or in young adulthood, where it was better not to care about what we want. It was the best way for us to get some kind of recognition or some kind of security, because at that point you don't really have the capacity mentally to really understand what's been going on. So your mind is really smart. It really wants to protect you, so it finds a way to justify what people are doing, that it's right to care more about what the people around you want in order for you to be not abandoned, for you to get the security you want, the appreciation, whatever it is. So this is happening, and we all kind of like go through this, and once we really understand this rationally, we get to change it. So really think about, when was the last time you went to the movies with a friend and you really cared about what you watch? When was the last time where it mattered to you when you eat your dinner? Like, have you been in situations where you're just like, I do this when I'm by myself, but the moment another person is involved, I always care more about what they want. I used to be like this so badly, and it's not even that I'm the good guy and the other person is the bad guy, because in both cases, this is just codependence. And this dynamic was a great way for me to understand that I was not looking at what I wanted, and I needed to first off figure this out. It really comes down to a point that you know, what are you doing when you're by yourself, and when a friend comes, are you actually doing what they want, or are you sometimes also doing what you want? I have this like great example that I had a couple of years ago, which was that for the longest time, every time my friends came over, I always changed my music up. I was listening to a lot of hip hop, and none of my friends listened to the music I liked. And I remember every time they came over, I automatically changed the music to what they wanted to hear. But that wasn't the music I wanted to hear. It really wasn't a compromise at this point. It was just I completely neglected what I wanted and I gave them what they wanted. And years later, after I've been doing this process for a long time, I remember them coming over and staying with me for an entire weekend. And at the end of the weekend, my friend told me, listen, the music was just too much for me. And then I recognized for the first time in the entire weekend that I just continued to play my music throughout that time. I was listening to that before they came, and then they came, and I kept on listening to that music because it made me feel good. And you know what? I didn't feel bad about it. I actually felt so relieved, and I was so proud of myself because, of course, I told my friend, please, next time tell me this. I'm not always aware of it. That is the beauty of it. I want to be in control of what I want, and then rationally speaking, if they tell me this is not something I like, then we can find a compromise. Then we can find some kind of music that we both like. But in the scenario in the beginning, I wasn't even aware of what I wanted. I wasn't aware that I was neglecting myself altogether. This can be a huge wake-up call, because this is not just about like having a great friendship or having a great romantic relationship. This is about you creating the life on your terms. If you don't do these things on autopilot, so you care about what you want most on autopilot, you will get in situations over and over again. Every time some external energy comes your way, you will neglect yourself, and this will be your go-to move every single time. So we have to make it that on autopilot you care about what you want, and in order to do that you have to know that preference. And you don't have to be afraid that you're gonna be mean or just selfish, because yes, situations like this weekend will happen where people will tell you, oh, I really didn't like this, you just did this for yourself. And you know what? You see the mistake you made, you remember this, you recognize this, and next time when they come over, you do it out of rationality. But you have this go-to of, I care what I like, this is my main focus, and when they come over, you make the compromise, you remember, and things will work out greatly. But you will never reach an optimal solution if you're not even aware and in preference of what you like. So this is where we need to get to. So how do you do this? How do you know your preference? It's not gonna happen by you just saying, oh, I'm gonna wait here and then I'm gonna feel like it and then somebody will come over and I will just want to do my thing. No, you will feel horrible in the beginning. You'll have situations where you go out and you feel like, okay, let's go watch a movie. I really love this example because this is so evident. I remember us going to the movies and then my friends really wanted to watch this certain movie and I just didn't care. I really didn't care what movie we watched. It wasn't that there was this great movie I wanted to watch and they had this great movie they wanted to watch and then we found a compromise. I didn't care. So why would I care? Why would I care about watching what I wanted to watch when I barely cared about this, but my friend really wanted to watch this movie? So there's this thing a lot of couples therapists say, and this is not just for couples, also for friendships or any kind of relationship, that when you have two different opinions, you should always ask the other one, how important is this for you from a scale from 1 to 10? And if the other one says, well, this is really important for me, this is a 9, and you say, well, for me, that's a 2, of course, then you should lean more into what your friend wants or your partner wants in that situation, because for you, it's really a small price to pay. For them, it's really a big deal. But if everything in your life is only a 2, you will never ever get to a point where you actually care about things. At that point, you really have to get to a situation where you say, well, I might not care about this movie, but if I cared, what would I want? And that you start practicing it, that you start making preferences and you attach a feeling towards it, because that's how it works. Your mind won't just change like this. You have to train your mind to have a positive anchor with knowing what you want and doing what you want. Because remember, you've trained your mind to numb itself out. So it really barely cares about anything. Like I remember when this was so big for me, this time when I really didn't care. I didn't cry about anything. I didn't really get happy about anything. I just didn't care about absolutely anything. And the only thing that really gave me a glimpse of hope or happiness was when I was able to do something for my friends. But every time you do this, you're not giving of the overflowing energy of your cup. I talk about it very often that we need to fill up our cup and then give out of what is overflowing. And with that, you just become number, you care even less about your life, and it really leads to depression. It really leads for you not caring about being happy at all. And then you ask yourself one day, what happened? Am I not supposed to feel alive and happy and successful and excited about life? Yes, you are. You can really feel like this, but you gotta train your mind to have a preference. So it really is about being in situations and really teaching your mind that it's okay to want something. And even if you think, oh, they really care about this like at a level 9 and I'm like at a 2, to still care and fight for what is yours. Because in the beginning, you have to make some kind of shifts like this for you to actually understand what really is only a 2 for you and what is a 7. If absolutely everything in your life is only a 2 on how much you care about it, This can't be it, how you're supposed to get excited about things. But once you start, oh, I really want to watch this movie. Last week we went to watch this movie you like, now let's go watch the movie I want to like. Or you start at least with suggesting what you want. How often are you in situations where you don't even suggest what you want? Because it's not even an option. The only thing you care about is what they want. So really write down the things you want to do. If you had to choose, you really don't care, but if you had to choose, what restaurant would you want to go to? What kind of movie would you want to watch? What kind of things you would like to do in your spare time? Where would you want to go on vacation? All of those things. Really try out things. I remember I started trying out things that I wore. I really had a phase where I said, okay, I need to change things, and I started decorating my house. I started really caring about my wardrobe, about buying some more colorful clothes. And you know what happened after a couple of years? I recognized that I still care a lot about interior design. I really care a lot about living in luxurious spaces and having a lot of space. But I really don't care about my wardrobe. But I wouldn't have figured those things out if I didn't push for it. I wouldn't have experienced that if I didn't really push for myself to go forward and understand what I care about and what I don't. So have it as a task for the week, have it as a task for the month or the next year to figure out what your preference is. What do you care about? And the first limiting belief of not knowing your preferences leads just like smoothly into the second misbelief that even when you know your preferences, you still don't value them as much as you value the other person's preferences. So this is the situation I meant with, you know exactly what kind of music you like, you know what kind of clothes you want to wear, you know what kind of vacation you want to go on, but the moment the other person comes into your life, you feel like such a bad person for caring more about your own than theirs. And that's not what it's supposed to be. You know, you're supposed to care the most about your own preference, because there's this huge misunderstanding that is so obvious if you really think about it, but that we do all the time anyways. And that is the following. If I care most about my thing, I'm not forcing anybody else to care about my thing more than their thing. We know why we think we're actually forcing people to do what we want. It's because we've been in situations for so long that if one person in our life really cares about something, we don't have another choice than to do what they want because they really, really want it. If that is the way we've gone through life, then of course we're gonna feel bad about caring what we want the most, because that would actually mean that the other person would be in the same situation we were, which was they would be forced to do what we want. But this is just a limiting belief, because you can always say, I know that this is what you want, but this is what I want. And I'm always gonna care more about what I want. And like, don't get offended here. Don't get scared, because that does not mean that I'm not gonna make compromises 50-50. That doesn't even mean that I won't be willing and even want to make compromises. They're actually in favor of what the other person wants. But I still value my preference more than I value them. You know why? Because you're the center of your life. You're the leading character of your movie. The other person is the leading character of their movie. So they're supposed to care most about what they want. And you should care most about what you want. And then you find a compromise that you both are happy with. But if you're not even caring about your own, then who's playing the leading character of your movie? Is it also your friend and you're only the sidekick in your own movie? You see how this can never be the best thing for you or for others. Because we have learned the moment you start building yourself up, you actually give energy to yourself. And then you have the system of having this overflowing cup of energy. You gain more and more energy. You show up bigger in the world as the most authentic version of yourself. You're not dimming your light. You're actually taking as much as you can the energy towards you, because you know that once you get that energy, you can give even more. You can create even more. You actually make life better by not dimming your light, because you're a creation of the universe, of God, whatever is the thing that you believe in, that thing that makes you feel alive, that thing that makes you understand that you're part of creation as is everybody else, and you deserve to be the center of your life. You do not have to feel bad about it, but you will if you haven't been used to that. So I'm not saying don't compromise. I'm not even saying don't, put yourself second in front of the other person, but always want your thing the most. It cannot be that you want what the other person wants more than what you want for yourself. That should be reason enough to understand, oh, there's something in my belief system that is not in the best benefit for me or for others. Because you're actually doing a disservice to others as well. When you dim your light, nobody of your friends, of your family, of your group can actually benefit from your greatness. When you go on the vacations you like, if you listen to the music that you love, if you do the things that really energize you and make you feel alive, there's such love and positivity and energy you can spread that you could never ever spread if you would dim your light and only care about what others want. And others, it's not their responsibility to push you. They can't do that. But once you understand that you always had the power to care about your own preferences, then you don't feel bad for voicing them, because you know very well that you're not forcing anybody else to listen to you. You're just saying, this is what I like, and I want you to care about what you like. And this is what actually happens the moment you really step up. It's not just like this codependent thing where you just switch roles and you say, now it always has to be like I want it, and if it's not my way, then I'm gonna, not like this friendship at all. But the moment you say, I will care about myself, my preference will always be number one for me. And of course I'll do compromises, of course. We'll talk about it. I know what I want. I know what you want. And then we're going to talk about and find a solution where we both benefit equally. You're not taking anything away from the other person, but you really fight for yourself. You fight for what is yours. Because this is not just a thing when it comes to relationships. Like even me starting my own business, all these questions arise of why me? Who am I? How can I dare to just stand up and say, follow me, listen to me, get me to help you and, bring energy and manifestation and income towards me. Like who am I to just stand up there and say that? Those are the fears that we're all facing, but it's just an illusion. It's not the truth. You fighting for yourself is not taking away anything from anybody else. It's a huge mindset shift, and it really comes down to your relationships, and with relationships, the entire way you live your life, because life is happening through our relationships, every single thing. And that's when we get to the third limiting belief, which will give you just as much help in this whole process. And that is that you make the compromise for you and the other person by yourself. This is a huge one, and it's something so many of us do. Even if you recognize that you actually know your preference, you understand that you have to care more about your own preference than other people's preference because you're the leading character of your movie, they're the leading character of their movie, and then you find like the best thing. But that being said, so many of us know exactly what we want. So let's say we know that we want to have more structure in our life, and then we have somebody else who likes to be more free, and then we say, well, I'm gonna make a compromise for both of us. They want to have all of their thing, it's all free spirit, and I want to be all structured. So what do? I recognize, I want to find a compromise for both of us, so I will be a little bit more open and I will just ask him to be a little bit more structured. You're making that choice. So often in your life, if you really think about it, you're making compromise without even talking to the other person, because you don't know how important it actually is to them, even if you think it. Even if you think you know that this is a 9 for them and this is a 2 for me, you don't really know it. And the worst part about it is that if you make that compromise in your mind, the one moment you actually approach them, your overall opinion is not that I care about the structure. Your overall opinion is, I care about my structure, but I already dimmed that out because I already included the other person's preference for having an easy-go-lucky attitude. And with that package, you approach the other person and say, let's find a compromise here. You're really taking away your energy at this point, and you're doing a disservice to the other person as well, because they have complete power and capacity to fight for what is theirs. It doesn't mean that you're not helping them up. It doesn't mean that you can't be the bigger person and really make sure that you both have a great interaction and that you both get what you want, but it really takes away the possibility of you living out as much as you want. And in the beginning, these things will feel completely unnatural. It will not be that you wake up and then everything is easy and this feels intuitive. No, it will feel counterintuitive. You'll think about it and you ask yourself, Why would I care? I just don't. Like, is that really a bad thing? And I can tell you now, looking back at it, yes, it is a bad thing, but not in the way of, oh, you're making mistakes. It's just you can actually create such better relationships. You can create such a better life for yourself. You can impact the world, your family, all of it. You can actually be the person who really makes the world better by you caring about what you want first. You build a life around your center point with wanting to include other people. That is what actually doing something for others is all about. I can help others, and it will be the best thing in the world if I make sure that I first off give to myself. So I make sure I have enough energy. I make sure that my preferences are lived out the most, because that gives me the opportunity to live in my movie first and foremost. And once I actually gather energy, I gather income, I gather freedom and a relief because more and more things are going my way, that's when you can make really great things happen. And you gotta trust that you're gonna use this energy in a positive way. You gotta trust that you're gonna use this power responsibly, because you are. And it's scary. I know that's one of the reasons why we don't want to take on this power of having all those choices and creating this life the way we want it, because we kind of like feel I'm forcing people to live by my rules. I'm forcing people to do things they might not want to do, but they have complete power to do that for themselves. And if you trust yourself that you are being a responsible, empowered person, that you really take on this power and you empower others as well, we will make mistakes in the process, and you might go overboard. You might be too selfish in certain situations, but when you are, you recognize it and you change it. Don't be afraid that you're gonna be this mean person who just takes on everything on their own, never compromises, makes ultimatums. That's not what this is about. You will learn. You will understand that yes, sometimes things go overboard, but then I learn from it and I do it better. The people who are really, really selfish and do these things, they don't do those kind of changes consciously. They just do this because they're lacking a feeling of freedom and of stress-free life, living it out on their terms, and therefore they need to take even more. That's how narcissists live. It's always a lack of something, and then they have to compensate by doing other things. But you caring about your preference the most does not make you a narcissist. It actually opens up a completely new opportunity to live out your life. The more you give to yourself what you really need, the better friend you can be, the better person in a relationship you can be, the better coworker you can be, the better person in a family dynamic you can be. So really don't be afraid of putting yourself first. That does not mean that you're not going to compromise, but compromise from a rational standpoint and not because you have this automated response of, oh, I'm numbing myself out, what I care doesn't matter, and I want to find a compromise that makes both of us feel good. First, understand what you want, and then approach the situation and find a compromise for you both. So remember, understand what your preference is, figure this out, value your own preference more than you value others' preference, and you won't take anything away from anybody. You're not being a mean person, you're just being honest with yourself, because you always should care most about what you want. That does not mean that you're not going to show up and find a compromise, and that does not mean that what you want doesn't include other people, but that you know at least what is the best for you. And then when you make compromises, do that together. Do not make a compromise for both of you without even talking to the others. That way, we're actually taking away power from others that is not ours to take, and you make decisions that probably are not even the best ones. They're probably not what the other person wants, and you're not getting what you want either. So really figure out what you want and then make a decision together. I really hope that helped you out and inspired you to have even better relationships in your life. Remember that the webinar is happening, so sign up below and you find all the information on coaching there as well. And if you want to dive deeper onto this topic, watch the video, The Best of Boundaries, because it's all about boundaries and relationships. And once you understand the concepts there, it will definitely help you when it comes to compromise as well. Like always, guys, I wish you a wonderful day, a great week, and I talk to you next time. Bye.